One of the most common techniques on a long-arm quilting machine is pantograph quilting. Most patterns come printed on 24-inch wide paper. The paper needs to be cut down lengthwise to fit on the table. Lay it out under the plastic on the table, which is called the pattern shield. This type of pattern is also called an edge-to-edge or overall pattern. There are slots along the tabletop for lining up the pattern. Line up the edge of the paper along the entire table. It is important to make sure the pattern is not crooked, or the problem will compound on each row. Move the machine so that the needle is in the bottom right corner, according to the back of the table. Make sure the left-hand button is in the needle position mode, and put the needle into the down position. This will hold the machine in place while adjustments are made to the laser light and pattern. The laser light must be turned on. Go to the settings icon on the carousel and touch the laser on-off icon. Now look down at the pattern and make sure the laser is set to the bottom-most edge of the pattern. Use a straight edge to find the very bottom, because it can be difficult to find on some patterns. Many patterns today have lines and dots marking these important points. The laser can be manually adjusted into the correct position. Now take some painter's tape to mark the boundaries of the pantograph area. This type of tape works well because the pattern is visible through the tape. The needle is at the farthest right side of the quilt top. This is where the tape should be placed, indicating this limit on the table. Bring up the needle out of the fabric and move the machine to the left side of the quilt. Place the needle back down into the fabric. Place the tape here to mark the left side of the quilt. The pattern can now be adjusted into the best position for the beginning and ending of the pattern on the sides of the quilt. I call this the pantograph shuffle. Take hold of the pattern and shuffle it left or right, finding the best position desired. The ends of the pattern need to be marked, connecting the lines and indicating the start and end. This will help you know how to close off the pattern when the end is reached. Use a black felt-tipped marker to draw onto the tape. Follow the lines, and where the pattern crosses the tape, draw in connections. Now do the same on the other end. The pattern is ready to be quilted. Move the machine to the start point of the pattern, as indicated by the location of the laser light on the pattern. Bring up the bobbin thread and tie off. Go to regulated mode on the carousel. Set the machine to 10 stitches per inch. Then activate the machine. Touching the button on the screen is nice, or use the right handle button, which is red. Now begin following the line on the pattern with the laser light. One secret to do a good design is having a light touch. The Gammill machine is very smooth and does not require a hard grip to operate, so relax your hands and shoulders while moving. Also remember to follow the lines. Avoid trying to trace. This means that if you get off the line a little, don't jerk back. Simply follow the line and you will return to the pattern soon enough. This creates nice smooth lines that look wonderful. Remember to breathe too. It can be tempting to hold your breath when you first begin. This will not help you relax. Accuracy will come with practice. You will be amazed at the improvement made over the rows, even on your first quilt. It is important here to not lean over the machine while working. Stand straight. Good posture is key when quilting for many hours. Once the end is reached, tie off the stitch to secure it. Both the beginning and ending ties will be cut off into the binding. The next step is to roll the quilt to the next row. Find the top of the pattern in the same manner that the bottom of the pattern was found. Either locate a pre-printed mark or make one with a straight edge. These marks are critical in order to avoid inconsistent spacing between the rows. Move the machine so that the laser light is at the top mark and put the needle down. Then remove the clamps from the sides of the quilt. Rotate the end locks so that these two front canvas rollers are free to turn. Now come back to the pickup roller wheel and roll very gently. Watch the machine move back. The laser light needs to move down to the lower mark. Allow the laser to pass the mark, about 2 clicks of the locks. Then return to the two front rollers, reposition the locks, and rotate these wheels inward until the fabric is taut but not too tight. I always tighten the backing first, then the top. Also, it is always important to be sure the pickup roller is a full hand's width off of the machine. This will keep the head moving smoothly while you progress down the quilt. To raise or lower the roller, rotate this convenient handle on the end. After each roll, the edge of the fabric needs to be sewn down and secured. Sew a straight line down the left side like this. Also, the right side of the quilt will need to be sewn down using a basting stitch. Return to the back of the table and pull the needle up out of the fabric. As the machine is moved to the beginning of the pattern, check a few points along the pattern to make sure the spacing is correct. Find the start point again with the laser, pull up the bobbin thread and tie off. Now follow the pattern again. One tip: always make sure the laser light is good and tight. A drifting laser will make it very difficult to complete a pantograph pattern correctly. Repeat these steps as you work your way down the quilt. Remember, this is an overall design, so don't worry about how it will finish. That will be dealt with at the end of the quilt. There will be times when you forget to put the needle down into the fabric before rolling. That is okay. To show how to fix this, roll the quilt without putting the needle down. Roll it so that the top of the last quilting row is still accessible to the needle. Move the needle to a mark on the pattern that is at the top of the row. Put the needle down into the fabric. Now adjust the laser to match that mark here at the bottom of the pattern. This mark down here represents the already quilted row. There, now the pattern and quilt are matched up. You may also want to pull the needle up and just check a couple of points to verify that they match well. Then come over to the beginning and begin sewing this last row. Once the last section of the quilt is reached, come around to the front of the stand. Roll the quilt up to where the edge of the top fabric canvas is accessible. Now remove several pins. The edge of the top fabric needs to be sewn down, allowing the top canvas to be removed. This provides access to the backing and batting that is beyond the fabric. Regulated mode is excellent for this task. Remove the pins, several at a time, as you sew along the edge. Don't worry about running off the fabric. It is okay to sew onto the batting area and then back onto the top fabric. This extra sewing will be cut off when the binding is put on. If you don't have enough room, apply a long strip of tape along the pattern, indicating the edge of the fabric. Then draw lines onto the tape that are needed to complete the pattern. That is pantograph quilting. Overall quilting is still one of the most widely asked for quilting in the industry. It takes practice, but it can be a great source of income or just a relaxing way to make great looking quilts.